Up. Well, well, well. Wha- What do we have here? Uh, and there isn't even any panic yet. This is this looks like it may have some legs to romp for a while. This is kind of what we were expecting a while back, and we didn't get it. We got trapped on both sides of the market, but it looks like you're finally seeing the the actual push. Okay, and again, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. You know, over time. I mean, obviously, there's no. This is not a final score, but it certainly is broken to the downside. Okay, again, this is something that we watch, and again, we have broken out on the downside. Now, again, is this a temporary? Is this a blow off? This is a volume wise, this has been, pretty pathetic. I mean, I have to say, that the overall volume has been, relatively light, especially for this kind of selling action. But, we'll see. Again, look, if you're hedged, it's been was quite today to be hedged and quite today to be, prepared. So this is, kind of what we look at on a regular basis, right? This is kind of like the story. Did you guys hear me, by the way? Am I talking to myself? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I get. Usually, I get some. I have some responses. I didn't even get any nasty responses yet today. So, again, this is pretty ugly across the board, right? I mean, this was kind of like selling from the beginning, and there was a little attempt to really charge them back. I think it was interesting about, well, here, this bar right here. This is a 200.4-minute bar in the Dow. I mean, it was like and that's what's going to happen when you see, thinner markets. Golds get creamed today, and where are all the gold bugs who always yell at me when I say the market's going down? They didn't write today. They didn't tell me that I was wrong. But again, this is a situation that looks pretty bad. Okay, and again, it doesn't mean it won't change. It doesn't mean that we're going down. I don't think it's a quad witching play. I don't buy into that anyways. Okay? And certainly it isn't going to be a play on Monday. I think the markets are in trouble. We've said it, even though we were long. I said it last week. Even though we were long, okay, I still said I thought we were in trouble and I thought we were wrong. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to start using my opinion now. If I'm going to use the algorithm, I'm going to use the algorithm. I don't believe in the quad witching plays. There's no more true quad witching play. That's the point, right? When they did away and they staggered the expirations, okay, there is no more triple witching. The triple witching or the quad witching play was everything expired on the same day. Okay, not Biden will save us. Not that it's got nothing to do with quad witching anymore. Everything's already expired. Okay, the only thing that left to expire are the options. Okay, and market makers have lots of puts. Well, we'll see how many puts they have. Just because you're getting a down move doesn't mean that they had puts. We saw very low volatility coming into this move. So, we were hovering around the usual. When you look at the volatility. So again, look. At the end of the day, this was not anything more than a sell-off, and it's a very orderly sell-off to begin with, which indicates there's a lot more room to go. Okay, that's what this action tells me. Okay, there's a lot more room to go. The VIX is pushing up against a high. We'll see, but it hadn't gone anywhere. Basically, if you look at how much you were down at the end of last week, the VIX hardly even acted to it. So again, there wasn't any real option buying. But as you look and you watched, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of telling factors in here, and of course, we've got the geniuses from the Federal Reserve this week as well. Besides the treasonous administration that we have in place. Okay, so there's a lot of things out there that indicate that there could be a lot deeper problems. And I think, but the biggest takeaway I would take from today is that there's a lot more to go, because there was no real panic to this selling. Okay. I mean, I didn't see any, did you? I mean, it looked just pretty steady. It was like steady as she goes. I mean, here's the 4-minute charts. These weren't panic charts. Okay. These were just kind of, okay, sell every rally. And I think that's probably the pattern that we're in, which is what we thought. Again, we got trapped, but that's part of the business. I can't fix that. Okay. I can't change that. That's not going to happen. I mean, that's like saying after the fact, oh, well, I knew this. Well, again, I said ahead of the time that I didn't like the way we were positioned, but there's nothing I could do. Okay. And I'm not going to defy what I've done for my whole life and suddenly become the genius that says, oh, well, it can't go up anymore. So, I certainly thought there'd be a little bit of a rally, especially after the down open, but it never really appeared. It mounted for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and that was about it. Okay. So at the end, look, again, you've got a market that is showing lots of trouble, lots of concerns, and for a lot of reasons. Okay. We don't have a strong economy. We have an overwhelming amount of Fed dollars at work here. Okay, we've got massive debt building once again, not with the government, but with individual consumers. And you don't think, I as I've said before, I don't think the banks have enough capital for what they've leveraged out. Okay, I don't think they meet the requirements, and I don't think they could pass a real audit. The problem there is we're going to get screwed once again if the Fed has to bail the banks out again, and that's where we get screwed. Okay. It goes back to the taxation without representation, the whole deal. That's what inflation is anyways. But they continue to try to inflate themselves out of this. You cannot borrow your way out of debt. It does not work. How many of you have tried it before personally? Okay. You cannot keep borrowing against something that is broken. You cannot keep borrowing against something that doesn't work. Okay. You have to revamp and reorganize to make it work. Okay. And we know that, listen, government, and forget about who's in power, government creates nothing. They only create debt. Okay. And it doesn't matter that it's, this one's worse than that. It doesn't matter who's bad. They all stink. Okay. Because all they really do is create debt that we have to pay back. What's up, kid? How are you? Okay. So again, you can blame any administration in the last 50 years on debt. Okay. Again, are these guys treasonous? Yeah, I think they are. There's a difference here, but it has nothing to do with the debt that they create. Federal government, state government only creates debt. They don't create jobs, they create debt. And that's always going to be a problem until they're forced to live under the same rules as a normal person, which is live on your budget. Don't make up the budget as you go along. Okay. And that was, excuse me. And that's always a problem in my eyes. Okay. Is exactly that. Okay. That the government doesn't have to live by a set of rules. And that becomes a problem because when you don't have to follow your budget and you let these assholes, okay, the purchasing managers spend their full allotment because they want to get a bigger budget the next year, you cannot keep increasing the budget. Okay. Again, because really all they're doing is they're increasing to each one of you, they're increasing your tax responsibility. Oh, my brother's here early. What's up, Beb?
Good morning or good afternoon.
Good morning. Yeah, it could be a good morning. Hold on, let me just turn you up a little bit.
It wasn't a very good morning or afternoon or evening.
Hold on, I gotta get my volume up so I can hear you better. There we go. So I was just saying that, the governments, they create nothing. Forget who's in power. They create nothing but debt. And until they have to follow, a budget like everybody else, like you and I do, they're going to continue to create debt and we're going to be responsible to pay for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, we started with the stimulus. Now we're forgiving college loans. And what are we gonna do next? We're gonna pay people's mortgages now that it's 6.25% today?
Isn't it amazing? And again, we continue not to, we continue to, ignore and say, and think that it's okay. And again, I said this, I squawked, if you remember, about a month ago or 6 weeks ago when when the rate was 4.25. I took 15 at 3.25, but now they're over 6 and they're going higher and they're going higher faster.
Bubba, I refinanced in November 2021, 2.95%. I mean, I looked at a 15 and I decided to just turn a 30 into a 15. 2.95%. It's doubled. It's less than 6 months.
Isn't that amazing?
And people are like freaking out. Hey, the first mortgage I took, I'm sure you're in the same boat, was at 14%. So.
Yeah, no, but listen, again, if money was treated, we didn't have
with respect
a freeloading Federal Reserve that just passed out dollars and bailed out every piece of shit that there is. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And this is and again, everybody thought that, no, wait. And I squawked and I cried and said, no, you can't do this. Whoever can't make it, let them go out of business.
Right.
That's the capitalistic system. If you can't survive, you need to go out of business and let somebody else take your place, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, that's what capitalism is. And that's what, that makes everyone better. It makes everyone better.
Makes the economy stronger, makes the business better.
What's,
and yet they bailed out. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
What's the motivation if, you can't, you're not competing? What's the motivation?
I mean, why bail out banks? What, they listen, they're not all in trouble. Okay. And all you have to do is worry about the depositors of the people's money who's there, not the banks themselves. They listen, those guys make a fortune and they can do more because they know that they're going to get bailed out. What kind of system is that?
Right.
Yeah. How much would you bet on a game if you knew you were going to get the money back if you lost?
As much as humanly possible.
Okay. I mean, this is the point. They're making bets and they're making bad bets because they know that the taxpayer eventually will have to pay for it. Right. Because no matter how you look at stimulus, no matter how you look at the federal government and the shit policies that they cover, okay, we are going to pay for their mistakes and for their oversight, not giving us a true free market and trying to manipulate these markets through. What do you say, Chief?
There's no free market. The markets, the markets have been destroyed by the policies that we've seen over the last couple of years. But it started with when they started having central banks. It started a long time ago. Right now, we're in a new realm of stupidity. And like an almost. I couldn't have even bet on the stupidity I'm seeing now.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. We say stupid, but really they're not stupid. This is treason. This is their actions are treasonous at the way they're treating all this. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're treating us horrible. I mean, that's my bitch for today, which is how stupid do the central banks and the government think we are? How can they go on TV and say how great everything is and how employment is wonderful? First of all, employment the way they with their formula, not all the people who dropped out of the workforce, how this is great that energy prices are going up because it's going to accelerate climate change initiatives. How stupid do they think the average American is? How stupid. Well, we will find out on election day. That's what we will do. We will find out how stupid. And if they're right, they'll retain power. And if they're wrong, it'll be a bloodbath. And to tell you the truth, Bubba, I bet on the bloodbath. I think there's going to be a bloodbath.
Well, I mean, I don't know anybody who could possibly appreciate or like what this administration is doing. And forget.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you who. Robert De Niro goes on TV and he says he's doing a good job, and AOC says, "Hey, doing a good job."
Oh yeah, well, those are not normal people. I don't mean that they're not normal in that way, but if you're Jeff Bezos, you're thrilled with what's going on. If you're that Jagoff Zuckerberg or any of the others, you're thrilled with what's going on because it's only making your company better and stronger.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. So, you know, where's Andy Jackson? So, I think that when you look at the picture, you're 100% right. And I mean, they're not stupid. They're intentionally trying to destroy this country. That's my opinion.
exactly. I mean, I rephrase it. I mean, it's more like how stupid do they think we are?
Right. I mean,
And I guess they think we're pretty stupid. And
no,
they think
well,
we're
yeah,
the
listen,
deplorables. The deplorables.
it
And,
is.
and now the new election mantra is that anyone who doesn't agree with them is a MAGA crazy, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't agree, you're put into a category where you're basically, not only you should really be in jail. That's kind of what he's saying.
It's
And
amazing,
that's
isn't
very
it?
dangerous. Let me tell you something. With all the bull that Trump pulled and all his egomania and all his stupidity, he did a lot of very good things. But the one thing he didn't do is it insult the intelligence of the American people, which this administration does every chance it gets.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day, with every policy move they make, they insult the intelligence of an American because.
And I hope they show them the door. And by the way, he's already preparing. He already said, oh, people are angry. He looked at some of the primaries. He said, oh, people are angry. Hey, he'll shift. He'll do whatever he can. You know what? It's a nightmare right now. And you know what? We're going to pay for this. Even if there's a wipeout in the election, we're going to pay for this for years to come because you can't just turn this on a dime.
No,
You can't turn this debt and this bull and this social stupidity. And I've said last week, this all starts with the family, a strong family base, the crime out of control.
So let me ask you a question. That's a great point. I want to ask you this question. Okay. To me, there's so much more violence today than I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Everywhere. Do you see the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. And that this is supposed to be, and now I am going to talk politics. This was supposed to be the party of peace, but in my opinion, they're stirring this up on purpose for whatever reason they have behind this. But they are causing these things, and they're doing it almost intentionally. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna take a more sociological perspective.
Okay.
Which is basically saying that the family has broken down, and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party wants to make the government big daddy, but that's not happening. What's happening is that gangs, Bloods, Crips, all these other gangs, or these new organizations that come out, BLM and others, Antifa, all this other stuff, they come out and they become the family. And they're teaching members and their members' children violence. And I think that at the end of the day, this is what we're seeing. And division. Look, I like you, Bubba. I grew up in a very mixed New York neighborhood, Italian, Irish, Catholic, Puerto Rican, Jewish, Protestant, black, white, yellow, green, whatever. Everyone pretty much got along. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but everyone pretty much got along. Now the divisions are so brutal. They're so brutal, and they're fostering like clans. And there's these little clans, and one clan is against the other clan, and it breeds violence. And we're seeing the violence, and a lot of the violence coming from gangs. A lot of it's coming from gangs.
Agreed.
Gangs replace the family, and that's a problem.
Agreed. I mean, this is,
and the government supports it.
Not to bring up the sour point of World War II and Hitler, but this is kind of what made Hitler successful. Was people were hungry, people were in trouble, they were looking, and they found an answer there.
Right.
And this is the same thing. They're recreating it just under a different mask and a different format, but it's still the same thing. You put people in trouble, they find, and the gangs find them, and they put them to work, and they give them a little food, and suddenly you've got a disaster.
When they look back at this era, they're going to say that Joe Biden, not Donald Trump, was the worst president in the history of the United States.
Well, you look at his approval rating. I mean, and he is the worst. Listen,
he makes Jimmy Carter. I mean, he makes Jimmy Carter look great, and Jimmy Carter was the worst. before, there was more disasters. The disasters here just keep on coming. And they started with the first executive order. They went right through to his energy policy. They went right through to insane kind of policies that divide people. They went straight through to Afghanistan and insulting our American troops and limiting our strength in the world. And then you have the Putins and the Xis of the world who are seizing on that. And here we are now with raging inflation, with which they planted the seeds. I wish the government would just own up to the fact that, hey, you know what? The stimulus, the liquidity in 2020 was necessary, but it planted inflationary seeds. Okay, they bloomed in 2021 and they're growing like wildfire in 2022 because Putin is smart enough and devious enough to have poured fuel on that, taken advantage of everything, and basically has put this country on its heels. We need to get off our heels.
Right.
We need a great leader. I think we have the potential to do so. But
I hope so. I'm a believer. I'm always an American first, and I believe in this country. But it's hard to continue the belief when you can't even discuss your opinion with anybody because the people that are on the other side, you have no opinion. You're not entitled to an opinion, right?
I had a chat with someone this weekend who said that quite rightly so, that the left, they don't accept the right's opinion, whereas a lot of people on the right, and I consider myself on the right, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to debate. I'm willing to compromise. Diplomacy is the answer or the way out of a lot of this stuff, but they're not willing to negotiate, and they're not willing to compromise, and they're not even willing to hear the other side of the story. They have a monopoly on the truth, and it's a despicable situation.
Where's Jack Nicholson? You can't handle the truth.
Right. Yeah, we need a way out of this. We need a way out of this, and we need to send a strong signal here. And by the way, if there is a bloodbath, watch out for the racist screams.
Oh, and let me ask you another question.
By the way, happy Juneteenth.
And that's next week, right? The markets are closed.
Well, I think that what they're going to do, since today's June 13th, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to make it the 13th through the 19th. It's like Festivus. I actually asked my mother if she was celebrating Juneteenth, that she, because I'm going down there next weekend.
I can't believe the markets are closed next week.
She told, I'm sorry?
The markets are closed next Monday.
Yes. She told me that she's celebrating Festivus instead.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Right. So, by the way, I won't be here next week.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm taking my granddaughter down to see my dad and my mom in Florida for the week, and got to introduce him soon because he's 92.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing to do, and understood. And of course, you're celebrating Juneteenth. I hope you have a.
I definitely big barbecue for that. Although I told my youngest son that, who's definitely on the left, and he got all annoyed at me.
Yeah, well, again, that's there, and there's your answer. Right? Is it right or wrong?
It is what it is,
There's the answer.
And my wife said to me, "Why do you do that?" And I said, because that's me.
I mean, that's what you can do, right? So. Look, we got problems, and of course, it's finally coming to the market. But it goes back to what you and I talked about almost on a weekly basis for the last almost year, which was the market up because it was really doing well, or was the market up because they kept flooding more money in?
Yeah, it was flood. I mean, it was inflation and whatever. And now, I have to tell you, now everyone I always have these idiots on. I know you have VSiN, but I have Bloomberg or CNBC in the background because I like to listen to it because it does give me ideas on things to write, so I have it on in the background, and they sound so surprised. How could you be surprised?
Right. If they'd listen to us, if they could listen to the Monday call, they'd have had this nailed years ago.
Right. And by the way, Bubba, you know as well as I do, this is the most bearish kind of activity. Just lower lows.
Oh, and on light volume too. Oh, it's brutal.
It's brutal. It's whack-a-mole. It's whack-a-mole. So expect the next rip your face off rally, which could come as soon as Wednesday.
Tomorrow. Who knows?
Right. We had two. Well, I think tomorrow will be kind of like a day in purgatory for markets because they got the Fed coming, and now the New York Times said that they're going to raise 75 basis points.
There's talk they may go up point. And
Yeah, there's all kinds of talk. But
there'll be no cut. You can guarantee that.
No, that they're going to raise. Yeah. There's no cut. But whatever they do, you might get the rip your face off rally after it. That wouldn't surprise me. But it's going to be a continuation of this whack-a-mole. I don't think you're going to see capitulation until you see that VIX hit 90, 80, 90.
All time I was 88, I think. But
right. Yeah, that's when you'll see capitulation. But now there's no capitulation.
I don't disagree with that at all. Let's hear it.
But I don't see it coming. I see more of this throughout the summer. I see horrible days like today and Friday, and then rip your face off rallies where all the bears get screwed, and then a continuation of this. I mean, look, the selling has accelerated Friday and today, no question about it. But yeah, we're coming into the Fed meeting. And remember, we said last week, actually we said the last 2 weeks, and we agreed on this one, that liquidity is going to dry up this summer, which is going to exacerbate volatility. And I think that Wednesday is kind of the end of liquidity for markets until maybe Labor Day.
I don't think we've had much liquidity. Again, you and I disagree on this topic because I think we just classify liquidity as different, but I haven't seen any real liquidity anyways. So, to me, the Fed is not providing anything. They provide nothing but poison.
Yeah, I just think let me redefine. I think that a lot of people are going to just get frustrated and walk away from the markets.
No, I agree with that.
After Wednesday's meeting.
I don't know if they'll walk away, but they'll be less. And you're seeing a lack of participation anyways right now. This is another issue. Today it's hard to get a great read on volume today, okay, because you've got a combination of an expiration going on. You had, the June futures and equities started to come off on Thursday, so they're still trading. The actual September traded 1.5 million, and the June's traded about 700,000. So you got a little bit more than you would see. But again, you're right. Listen, you're right. There's a big problem here, but we've recognized this problem, but nobody else wants to recognize it, and they continue to hide from it, which becomes the bigger problem. In
I think what we're going to see is whack-a-mole kind of action. They'll pick up their heads and they'll smack it.
Yeah, I think we're in for, as we've said all along, I think we're in for a 40 to 60% haircut.
We're halfway there.
I stood by my point.
I mean, the NASDAQ from the highs has already lost a third.
Yep.
So we're halfway there.
And yes, we did get a reversal in gold. Unfortunately, we at least split it lower. But yeah, I mean, again, gold today, to me, I look at today's action as a wholesale sell-off.
Exactly. Okay? I mean, even
today, nobody cared about anything. They were basically, I'll sell first. Let me ask questions later.
But I will tell you one thing. Crude oil finished up on the day.
It did. And what a move that was. It got down to 117.
How is that? That says it all. That's spitting in the face of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Listen, that building should be destroyed. I mean,
the criminals and OPEC and Russia are continuing to print money on the back of worldwide consumers with oil at $120 a barrel. And how are we going to address that? We're going to send Joe Biden over to Saudi Arabia to stumble around, and maybe he'll put on one of those Saudi kind of white uniforms, and he'll triple over himself. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen there is he's going to get insulted again. He's going to beg. He's going there to beg for output, and they're going to tell him, "No way, Jose."
No, they need the money for the LIV golf tournament.
Yeah, right. Hey, by the way, what do you think of that? You think those guys should get kicked out of the PGA, or do you believe in free market economics?
I believe in free market, and again, I don't like the circumstances behind who's behind it, and I don't like where the money came from, because to me that's blood money. However, again, if you're going to allow the NBA to do what they did in China, Okay, and you can let all these other things happen, then how can you avoid these guys from the PGA?
I agree. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that they're avoiding them from the PGA. The PGA has to get better and compete. It should make them better.
You know, and I think the PGA is on a slippery slope anyways. You know, again, the number of people that can actually afford to play golf, you know, again, there's a lot of issues that I don't want to get into them all today because we could spend hours on this alone. But you know, look, I can understand what they're doing, and I heard that the commissioner of the PGA talk yesterday, and I understand. And I don't like where the money came from for this from Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, that's, but at the end of the day, it is a free market, and they're gonna, and see, the funny thing is they're still going to be able to play in the majors unless the majors step up, but the majors are run by different organizations.
Right.
So,
you know what? Listen. You're a professional athlete. You have a limited window to maximize your future and your family's future. And if someone comes in and offers you a giant slug, 10-figure slug, you know, it's very hard to turn that down. You know, they're not competing. The PGA is not willing to compete. So, hey, you're going to lose.
It's generational wealth. And for example, Charles Schwartzel won yesterday. Did more money yesterday than he made in the last 5 years combined.
Exactly. You're going to turn that down? Listen, but Tiger Woods can afford to be above the fold. He's a billionaire. You know, a lot of these guys who are taking a stance, they're already very, very wealthy people. And I understand why they're taking it. I respect that they take it. But, you know, if you're a Schwartzel or someone like that, this is an opportunity that you don't want to turn down.
Right. Listen, if I offer you $125 million, you know, that's generational wealth. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to, again, to me, I could compare it to the NBA. Again, I don't like it, but I can compare it directly to the NBA, directly to the Actors Guild. Okay. Right. And the way that they handle China. So, you know, that becomes another issue. And it's a much bigger story as we go forward. Right. Yeah. But again, it is blood money as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, of course, the 9/11 victims from New York wrote a letter, and it doesn't do me any good, but I can understand it. Certainly.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Of course. I mean, you know, listen, Saudi Arabia hatched a lot of these terrorists. You know, bin Laden he came from a very wealthy Saudi family. You know, the Saudi royal family looked the other way, and they probably stuffed a lot of money in their pockets, and a lot of the princes supported them. But, you know, the bottom line is, when it comes to Saudi Arabia and our markets and what's going on in the world, is Joe is going over there. He's going over there to beg, and they're going to make him look like a fool, because you know what? They have every reason to.
Well, and he doesn't have to go far to look like a fool either. He's looked like a fool listen, again, one thing I can say about this man, he's been a dumbass for 47 years, not just since he became president, but for his entire political career. And he's always been a racist. So that's what he is.
You know what particularly bothers me? You know, you ever notice in the interviews how he barks at the audience? He's like condescending and nasty.
Right.
That bothers me. I mean, agree. You know, a president is supposed to be magnanimous. Listen, Trump, he's a pompous ass.
Yes, he is.
You know what? He used humor. He connected. He showed some empathy for some people. Biden, you don't get any of that with.
Right.
You get bumbling and mumbling and yelling. I mean, I
agree with you. Look,
I get yelled at by the president of the United States. I can't even watch it. And you know what? I'm going to tell you another thing. This whole January 6th hearings they have on TV, this is a diversionary political experiment to see if they can take the people's eyes off the ball, which is how much they're paying for gasoline and how much they're paying in the supermarket, and how their 401ks are melting into nothing.
Right.
And saying, oh, this is a real danger. And this is total political theater. That's all it is. Anyone who sees it as anything else is very, very short-sighted.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, look, again, this is Trump was in my lifetime was the best president in my lifetime, whether he was a pompous ass or not, which he was. If he'd have kept his mouth shut, he'd have been the president again. But, you know, again, that's a story for another day.
That's it. All right. We get off politics and go to markets.
All right. So anyway, so the dollar again, the dollar is of course not a surprise, is charging higher. And of course, we reversed it this morning. We missed part of the rally, but we did reverse this morning. And look, the dollar is going higher for a lot of reasons, but one of it still is one of the fear indexes that we look at, right? I mean, where do big countries have to go to put their money if they're nervous? They're going to buy the dollars, because for now, the dollar is still a reserve currency. Okay,
that's all it is. Best horse in the glue factory, and the
well,
dollar is going to go high. The euro is going to go to parity and below, and the interest rates in the dollars are going to be better than euros, and that's why it's rallying. Finished.
Right, and you and I have discussed many times that they're all going down. I mean, it's really a race to zero.
Right.
Okay. In the meantime, Connie, at 104 to 105, and 105 is right around the corner, so I would suspect we're going to break out, but you might see a little bit of a stall there initially, but it could blow right through. But 104, 105 would be what I'd be watching here. But again, we're buyers and we're long. I'd like to buy it, and we don't trade as actively. It's in a portfolio. Okay. I mean, certainly if you're going to want to trade currencies actively, you're better off trading the euro currency, which Andy has mentioned, which is headed south. Okay, we're still short, and are short. And again, it look to me. I said 88 cents a long time ago, and we agreed on par first, which we're gaining at it. Okay, now
I think 110 on the dollar index is going to get you parity.
And don't be surprised if you get a currency move. There's going to be a bounce here someplace, just like a dead cat bounce anywhere else. There's going to be a rally at some point. It could be a penny or two, and that's a pretty big move, right? A penny is $1,250 a contract, okay, from a trading standpoint. Don't be surprised if it comes, but in the meantime, the overall trend here, this is going to take it back, I think, to the all-time lows, which will be eventually 88 cents. Okay.
Yeah, I expect a lower low before we get that bounce here.
And I would suspect that support is about 104.50 and resistance is about 106, 104.50, 106. But again, I want to sell this at every opportunity. This is kind of like looking at the currencies. It's almost like looking at a leverage ETF. They became, not only are they weak, and not only are the governments playing with them, and all of them, all central banks, not just the Federal Reserve, that they manipulate them. So you're kind of getting a deteriorating asset to begin with that's going to work its way lower on top of everything else. So, and of course, the Bitcoin, what a crack this was. It was not a surprise. Again, we thought it'd go higher, but we said that, it's going to break big one way. Look what happened. It's stuck for about 3 weeks in a very tight range. And look what happens. Bang. Here you go. Okay. Please stop what, Dirk? What would you like me to stop?
I think the politics. I think the politics.
Okay. Well, again, you can speak your opinion, but it's okay with me. I got no problem. Again, I'm not against your opinion, but again, the Bitcoin, not a surprise. We thought that it would make a big move. I didn't think it'd be lower, but here it is. Okay. I mean, so where from here, Andy? It's now
market cap's under $1 trillion. There's no systemic risk. The Senate is talking about regulations. Look, it looks horrible. It looks horrible. But this is the most volatile of all asset classes, and nothing would surprise me. Could it go? Bubba, could it go back to 10,000? Absolutely.
100%. We thought that it's possible. Anything is possible. Listen, first of all, as I've always recommended, if you're going to play in this space, in the real cryptos, then you have to be prepared to lose it all.
Right. Exactly. And you know what? The lower it goes, the less you risk. It goes to 10,000. You got to risk 10,000. The all-time high is 70,000. Risk reward improves as the price goes down. You know what? Let them push it. Let them push it. It's fine.
Right. I mean,
and my only investments in these are, as you said, capital that I'm willing to flush down the toilet.
Exactly right. So in the meantime, we're still short, and we've been short for quite a while, but now I'd have to say that 28,000 is resistance. And really right now, there is no support. I mean, you're looking at 20,000 probably on the downside.
20 is 20. That was the December 2017 high when we first spiked up there. Listen, Bubba, this is going to experience head spinning volatility. And the one thing I will say is today's move, and maybe, this current downdraft, wherever it ends, smells like capitulation.
Yeah, is this a blow off? It could be. Look, it's not huge volume compared to just 3 weeks ago. So is it a blow? It could be. I mean, I wouldn't get too excited. And if I were looking to invest in Bitcoin in my wallet, I wouldn't mind buying some here. But if I were looking to trade this as a blowout trade, I wouldn't be in such a hurry.
Well, JP Morgan's looking pretty stupid. Last week they said at 30,000, it had 30% upside. I guess now they say it has a lot more than that.
You got 30% downside right now, right? And of course, the bonds are headed to your next target as we continue to be short bonds, and they've broken down once again.
This was my highest conviction trade over the last couple of months. I've said it all, and I'm going to continue to say it. The bottom line is selling rallies in this bond market in this environment is like nothing is a no-brainer. There's always risk.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer until it's not, right? I mean,
right, but it has been a no-brainer.
100%.
Every rally has been a sale, and my next level, I don't know where it finds a bottom, but my next level is 127.23.
And I don't know that I look again. Interest rates are going to take off here. This is the other side of the equation. You're already watching it in the housing market, okay? And remember that the Fed funds rate has nothing to do with what the interest rate markets are to the general public. So,
in the meantime, Bubba, just something interesting to point out.
Sorry,
on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay. The monthly payment between the end of last year and today has gone up $750+ per month. That's significant.
That's a lot of house.
That's exactly. I mean, is that incredible?
It's a lot of house.
It's when we're talking about bonds, we're talking about mortgages, and that's a $300,000 mortgage.
That's a lot of house, baby.
That's unbelievable, right?
Right. Anyways, Connie,
I kissed the lucky stars. I bought when I did. I refinanced when I did. And you know what? It's better lucky than smart. That's
right. Listen,
what I say.
135 is resistance support. I would suspect you can see 130 before you can see any real bounce. I mean, again, we got a lot of stuff coming out. Now, did they over? Is this a potential? There's no real volume today in this sell-up. So to me, you could just continue.
Yeah. Continue. And by the way, the other thing is, listen, I know you tell your kids, I've told my kids, when interest rates were 3%, 2.5%, say, you got to take advantage of this. You'll never see this again. The odds of seeing this are very low. I never thought I'd see this. I remember when I took my first mortgage, my dad told me he got his first veteran's mortgage in 1956 at 4.1%. I was like, wow, 4.1%. I'll never see that in my lifetime. I never forgot that.
Right. No, I mean, look, again, these are numbers, if we're going to remain a capitalistic society, which there's still question about what the administration is doing, then we're going to see rates are going to continue to charge, and you're not going to see these low rates again.
How are we going to pay for all these COLAs on pensions and on Social Security?
They're not.
How are we going to pay for this stuff?
This is the real problem. A lot of these pensions are in trouble because of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, a lot of the pensions, like I know the state pension in Illinois at one point had not funded since the 90s because of the markets.
Right.
Well, guess what? This is going to be a problem. So in the meantime, 130 to 135, gold, which we reversed today, which pisses me off, but listen, it doesn't piss me off. We did reverse. We got long this morning. But again, this looks ugly, but it's not even a blow off, which is another, if you're going to be on a market in reverse, you want to see, even if we're wrong, you want to see it turn into a blow off pattern. It really did not. It was just kind of a sell them and don't stop, and don't stop until they close.
Yeah.
Okay. And
back to the $1,800 pivot point, right?
Right. Yeah, there we are. That's what I thought, right? 1880 is resistance, and I think 1800 is next. Now, again, we're long right at the moment. Okay, but I think 1800 is coming, and certainly it doesn't look very good. And look, at the end of the day, would I buy more? Of course, I'm buying more. I will always buy more gold. I'm going to always accumulate more gold.
I'd rather have gold than dollars or euros or anything.
Without question.
Right.
Without question.
Would you rather have? Let me ask you a question. Would you rather have gold than Bitcoin?
Maybe. I'd probably like to be split it. I like both. I do like Bitcoin, and I do.
What I say? I say it's a generational thing.
Well, I'm in your generation, but I look, gold. The one thing I know for sure about gold if I have it in my hands, I can spend it somewhere. Okay, Bitcoin, I'm not quite right. That's still the question, which is why I can't totally commit, but I would always want to own some Bitcoin because that theory behind it, I think, is real.
You know what it comes down to me? If you want to take my gold, you need a gun. If you want to take my Bitcoin, you need to know how to hack a computer.
That's a pretty good point. Okay.
That's what it is.
In the meantime, we're long in 1800 to 1880, and silver we're still short. And of course, this is breaking down. And it looked a little bit better for a while. And now it looks like garbage. And of course, now that 21, now it looks like it's got a chance to go to 20 and a half or even 20 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Now, again, this could change. Do you hear anything about a huge gold fund? I did not know, but I don't read the news, so I can't answer that question. Did you hear anything about it? A huge gold fund in a third world country?
No, I didn't see anything. I
didn't see anything, but again, I would be the right guy to ask because I don't look.
The next spoofing trial is starting in July.
Who?
The JP Morgan's
okay.
spoofing trial should be interesting. I can't believe that after the recent convictions that these guys are actually going to trial. They didn't cop a plea. It's shocking to me.
Well, they must have something. They must think they have something.
I think they got nothing.
In the meantime, silver resistance 22 and support is, right now 20 and a half. Okay. And we're still short. Now, platinum, as it's funny. Last week I was chirping how it looked like it might be finally going. Here it is back in the toilet once again.
This is a lesson in failure.
I mean, right back in the crapper once again. And here's platinum. We don't trade anymore because it's not liquid enough. But obviously that 1,000 is a key number, and it looks like it's going to now test the 900 level once again. At the end of the day, copper, the copper top battery. Where is the copper top battery?
Looked lousy today. Listen, along with everything else.
Yeah, well, we're long it right now, but I would suspect that that's not going to last through tomorrow. I would suspect there'll be some changes tomorrow. I'm sure. I know where some are coming for sure, which I'll tell you about, because obviously they were close and didn't ship this week. I would not. This has got to be turned into a short tomorrow as well. There's no way that it can sustain this kind of move. Again, this has been a very choppy market. These consolidating markets that swing in ranges are brutal. It's got to break out one way or the other, and it maybe this is the start. I don't know. You actually follow copper on a much more fundamental basis.
Yeah, I like how copper tends to respect technical levels. If it breaks through 398 on the downside, it's going to look really lousy to me. But I still think it'll hold.
Okay. Well, no, again, you're looking at it from a completely separate perspective.
Yeah.
For today, again, I know we're long at the moment, but I don't think it's going to last. And I'm going to go ahead and assume it's going to change. I'm going to say 432 or 431 and a half as resistance. The support is about 413 would be about the next support.
I think you'll get a sell signal after the last 3 days.
Oh, I agree. I was surprised we didn't get one over the weekend, but we didn't. So, and again, I think that you're going to see some pretty heavy selling here. Look, we'll see what happens, but this is, everything's now going to come into effect. The interest rate market, which continues to rise, okay, is going to have effect on building and cost and production and all these things that, we don't ever talk about because it's not part of the equation as a rule, but now it is becoming part of it.
Right, and don't forget that the production cost of copper is going up massively because of interest rates, because of energy, and pulling copper out of the ground, smelting it, refining it, very energy intensive. It's not that cheap to produce a pound of copper now.
No. Brad, you said corn last week. Look what happened. It went down. No, I'm kidding. Look, I'm a big believer in corn. We're still short, okay? But I think corn is, look, the truth of the matter is if given my own devices, I wouldn't mind being long it. I will play the model. But I think I think the commodities are going to go flying. And I think today was more of, as I said earlier, a wholesale sell-off. But for today, it looks like about 780, some resistance, and support's probably around 750. But again, I'm with you. I think we're going a lot higher, but it doesn't mean there's not going to be some pressure in between. And if this market continues to sell like it is, remember, what happens is we've got pressure. And not only you have pressure kings margin calls. Margin calls means selling other assets. If you want to make sure you cover those margins, it means selling other asset classes to cover the margin calls, which is, I think, what you saw today. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think, look, I think corn, you are going to see a double digit corn price, but I don't know where that's coming from. And if you get a sell off in oil, which is very possible at $120 a barrel, I think they'll smack corn too.
I don't want to, again, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I don't want you to think that there's anything, different that they can't change. But right now, there's a lot of reason to believe, and especially if Mother Nature doesn't, there's a whole bunch of factors involved in corn besides just the price itself right now. And we already know there's going to be a shortage in food next year. So this is going to be a problem. And I think you're going to see a rise here. Soybeans.
By the way, they blew up 30,000 tons of wheat in Ukraine over the weekend.
Unbelievable. So soybeans, which were long, and again, this is a pullback. Look, the pattern still looks pretty solid. I would say that probably $17 is the key level of support. Looks like we're like 17 to 17.80. All right. Now again, could I be wrong? Of course I'd be wrong, but it doesn't look so bad to me. I mean, to me, you remember, the higher the asset class price, the bigger the moves are going to be. It's still a percentage basis we're watching. Okay. So, look, at the end of the day, $17 should be some support, or probably going to reverse.
And don't forget, soybean oil plays a big role in biodiesel. Big role.
What are the distillates like right now?
The distillates, I mean, they've been the strongest thing on the board.
Right.
The products were down today, but distillates were down a lot less than gasoline.
Okay.
Because they make distillates from Brent because it's got more sulfur in it.
Right.
And Brent is the Russian, and the Saudi crude. So that's the one that's getting squeezed. So, and bean oil is on the front lines. The gasoline is the corn is more a gasoline story. The beans are more a distillate story.
Gotcha. Okay. And wheat, pretty much flat. Okay. It was up, it was down. It's dead sideways. Okay. Now we're still short wheat, but again, I think wheat's going, if I gave you a prediction, and these are just predictions here, I'm not trading off of these, but beans in the 20, corn in wheat around the $15 level, and corn over 10. That's what I would.
And wheat, there's about 250 to 300,000 tons of wheat sitting in silos in Ukraine, and it's got no way out. There's no way out.
Right.
And if you think the Russians aren't going to bomb those silos, you got something else coming to you, because the Russians want to create havoc in the world.
Exactly. All right. So in the meantime, this is a very tight range, but to me, it looks like it's about 10.30 to $11 or so, 11.30. And of course, the cattle markets, look, at the end of the day, okay, the cattle markets are under a little bit of pressure here. Why? Well, because, look, when oil made that big rally up, and you've got some pressure going on, and this goes back to the meats had a big move up last week, cattle. And of course, what do you get? You got a big sell-off. Is it margin calls? I don't know. But again, it showed some weakness, but it's showing weakness from much higher levels. Okay. So we had a big rally, and now we're starting to see a little bit of pressure. Now the real key will be tomorrow and the day after, if the selling continues, which I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, again, I personally believe that the cattle markets are directly tied to oil, because I think that when it comes down to what you're going to eat, okay, you're getting up there in price, and cattle, it's going to be harder to buy a steak at the store. What do you think?
I think everyone's going to be eating crow.
Yeah, that's, we'll be eating powdered protein pretty soon.
Absolutely. But I don't argue with what you're saying. We're in the heart of the grilling season now, the beginning of it, actually. And, the prices are elevated, but, they got some downside potential here.
Right. I mean, look, again, I'm tying it together, and hogs, hogs haven't taken off, which would have been part of my thesis. However, hogs are pretty highly priced right now. They've been kind of elevated.
It's steady, Bubba. They've been very steady.
Right. And they're kind of elevated. I mean, when's the last time we saw steady hogs over $1?
No. I mean, listen, over $1, that's expensive for pork.
Yeah.
And believe me, it's a hell of a lot more in the supermarket.
Right.
That's the other thing. These futures prices in the cattle, in the hogs, they have absolutely no bearing to what consumers are paying. You go to the Albertsons or Publix or any of these supermarkets, you go to the meat counter, you tell the butcher what the futures price is today, and compare it to what you're paying. They're not even in the same ballpark.
If they can get it. Okay. And natural gas, oh my God, it was down a little bit. Natural gas has kind of found a ceiling for the time being, but to me, a very bullish action. Okay. And I would say, $8 is obviously at one support level, but I'd make a case that even maybe even 8.50.
Yeah, so we had a wild week last week in natural gas.
Yep.
We had a new high. It got up to 966.40 per MMBTU. We had an explosion at Freeport, which is an LNG terminal, which basically caused U.S. prices to go down and European and Asian prices to go up because of the lack of shipments, because of the blow up, but more injections, the prospects for more injections. So that kind of made sense after the fact. But hey, 850, 860, 850 per MMBTU. Let's remember back only 24 months ago when we were trading at $1.44.
Let's see here, 24 months ago, and there you are.
When young Warren Buffett decided, hey, I'm going to buy 10% of all the transmission and pipeline natural gas assets in the United States.
And there it is.
And pay $10 billion. And I would guarantee you, if he wanted to sell that today, he'd probably get $100 billion for it.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, I could make cases for either, but I think it looks pretty good. And there's, again, the energy shortage we're experiencing, the policies that we have can lead to higher prices. It's just not.
I'll make a case for this, Bubba, that if you want to dip a toe into natural gas, you got to put on a helmet, go in with a plan, and stick to the plan, because anything is possible in this market. And this market has caused more bankruptcies than any market I've ever seen.
Indeed it has. And the crude oil market, speaking of it, and what a move today. What a reversal off of the bottom there of about 117.50. Look at it. And actually, if you looked at a chart, it would have been perfect. And here we are. So basically, it looks like we're kind of range bound 118 to 133. I mean, excuse me, 123.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things that's going on in the crude oil market over the last couple of weeks is, every tomorrow you'll have the API inventory data come out, and then Wednesday morning you have the EIA inventory data. And we've had little builds over the last couple of weeks. But what a lot of people don't realize, and they're not keeping track of, is that we're bleeding out about between 5 and 7 million barrels of crude oil from the strategic petroleum reserves every week because of the brilliant decision by this administration. So at the end of the day, crude oil stocks are falling regardless, if you strip out the what's going on with the SPR.
Well, right. This is like a mirage, Andy. This is
right. They have to replace that.
Right.
Actually, they must replace that.
Hogs are only open till 1 to 2 o'clock Eastern time. They close. Okay. Hogs close at 2 o'clock Eastern time, or 2:05. I'm Jewish. I don't eat pork. Yeah, I understand, but you can still make money trading it, though. In the meantime,
I don't think there's any religious bans on trading pork, even if you eat it.
118 to 123 in crude and cocoa continues to get smashed. Okay, and we continue to be shorted. And look, this is now really officially broken down.
Yeah, this is an ugly move, but we'll see if we'll see.
No, I mean, look, they can turn any time. And again, the part of this, remember, if I'm right and Andy's right, part of this move is just basically selling everything. I mean, selling asset classes to support other asset classes is what happens.
I mean, I can make a case that based on moves in the other soft commodities, some specs got long cocoa, and then when all the what hits the fan, they say, I'm getting out of everything, and that includes some cocoa contracts and pushes the price down.
I agree. Look, again, you get no argument from me there. I mean, I think that's correct. And cotton, look, we're short cotton. This is kind of a key level in the cotton space here. I mean, it's very elevated in price from where it was a while back, but is it really elevated in price? There's always that fine line. And I think one thing you always have to remember as a trader and as a person that's involved in markets is the fair price is where it's trading. And then you have to establish the range in which it's trading now. It has nothing to do with where it was a year ago or when it was 46 cents about 2 years ago, whatever it was.
And there's a big backwardation in cotton. If you look at the December contract, if you could put that up for a second, you'll see that I think it's around $1.20 a pound. So
Yeah, it's a huge degradation is correct.
Acquisition on a percentage basis, and that's, you know, that's important to note.
Well, again, that's what when you see the fear. Here's 122. When you have the fear is always going to play out in the current.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's as far as the attention span is always going to play out in the front.
Exactly.
So in the meantime, we are still short. And again, I think 147 is the key to watch. And if it breaks from there, it could go down to 141 again without a problem. And sugar, which we are short as well. Okay. And, you know, again, I think that, you know, it has broken to the downside. Okay. And now look, I'm not bearish. It's like I'm screaming like, oh my God, it's going to zero, but certainly it does bring 1840 back into play again.
Yeah, I mean, look, sugar has to stay above 17.6 cents to maintain a longer term a bullish trend that's been in place since 2020. But you know, not surprised. Another commodity that you know, when they're selling everything, they're selling sugar too.
I don't know anything about lentil futures, if there is a such thing. And you can ask your question anytime you want, sir. I'll look at it and I'll answer it when appropriate. In the meantime, again, sugar, you know, $18.90, $19 and down to 18.40, and that 17.60 was Andy's key hold target. And OJ, okay, and OJ, okay, we're still long. And look, it's still in a pretty solid pattern. You know, again, this was not damaging. It was ugly, but it wasn't that damaging today.
Liquidity is so scary.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a thin market anyways to begin with. So at the end of the day, you know, again, I would, you know, this is one that you don't trade regularly. This is when we carry it in a portfolio. It's not one I would ever trade. I half time I don't even look at it. Okay. Monday nights I look at it with you guys. Okay. And coffee. Okay. And coffee is, you know, we're still long. When it came down a little bit. Now again, this has got a big chance to probably reverse tomorrow. Okay. You know, we had a big up move and now we're starting to retrace it back down. The volumes were light. And that's one of the concerns I always have is the light volume that we experience in these markets. Okay. But again, it doesn't mean it's not going to push it in a direction, because what happens is people walk away, traders walk away, and they let the markets either run or fall to where they're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like I said before, you know, tomorrow we could see a day in purgatory because these markets are all focused on these figures and these central banks, and you know, there's not a hell of a lot else going on. I would call tomorrow Purgatory Tuesday.
Could be. And lumber continues to get hammered. Now
that's disgusting.
Now, obviously, this has a lot to do with mortgage rates. Yes,
of course.
Okay, and so now, given the newer picture, we knew this was coming, but given the newer picture, what's your take here in lumber? We don't trade it.
My take in lumber is simple. Before 2018, the highest price ever for lumber was $493.50 per thousand board feet. You know, we're in a new realm in lumber. I expected to find support around the 480 level.
Okay.
You know, that's where I expect.
That's about where we got to last time, right? When it
right. I mean, if it's going to go down there, I'd like to see it hold and make a higher high. What was the low today?
Today's low was
so 488 is the critical level because we fell below the November 2021 530.10 level. Not a surprise. But this market, I mean, can do anything. You know why? Because it's a market where bids disappear when they're selling and offers disappear when there's buying.
Listen,
but there's no liquidity. I mean, this thing at 500 contracts a day is a big day.
Right. Today was 200. No, 100%. Look, we don't trade it. You cannot trade it. It's really more of a bellwether we watch.
Right.
There's a question. At what point would you start dollar cost averaging on S&P? Would you wait until the Fed reverses course? Well, I don't think the Fed's going to reverse course. I think interest rates are going up for quite a while. This is not going to stop. Okay. They have dug themselves such a dramatic hole that we have to go much higher in interest rates. Dollar cost. First of all, I hedge, so I don't worry about dollar cost averaging. But I mean, if you're a believer in the company that you own or in the S&P 500, then you pick a level where you're comfortable. Just remember, it really comes down to how much are you comfortable with losing, or how deep will you take the sell-off. If you're going to be watching it every minute, then probably not a good place to average. If you're going to just sit back and let it trade, then, you know, again, you could buy just about any time. It really depends more on your individual account balances and things like that.
That's exactly right. So I'm buying for my granddaughter's 529s.
Right.
This is a 20-year horizon, and I'm very comfortable buying. And you know what? If it halves from here, okay, I'll buy more. That's fine. It depends on your time horizon. As a trade, I say follow the trend.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
right. For my kids and my retirement account, I don't look at it. I'm hedged, but even if I wasn't, I wouldn't be worried about it. Twice in a day for you, buddy. Well, you're getting ready for retirement. You're getting ready to hang out with me every day. In the meantime, any last minute thoughts here on the day's events?
No, like I said, Purgatory Tuesday, I expect, and I expect a lot of fireworks Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, I expect comatose markets.
All right. Well,
I
let's see
do.
it.
I mean, I'm going away for the week, and I just think I'm going to come back. I have this feeling, Bubba, and I could be wrong. This is just my feeling. I have a feeling that when I turn off the screen on Thursday night and get on the overnight to Florida, when I get back the following weekend, Sunday, I'll turn on the screen and I won't see much difference.
All right. I think you'll see a dramatic difference. We'll see.
Right, we'll see.
That's what makes a market. Let me stop this recording.
By the way, I'm not saying that we won't see a lot of action in between, but I think the price will gravitate.
We're not going anywhere. We're just going to stop this recording and record a new recording for the next session. So hold on one second. Let me stop this. Let my girlfriend her words of wisdom. Okay, and let me just get this ready to go. And okay, and let's go to record to cloud. Yep. Okay, and we're recording and we're off. And what's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. It is the Monday Night Call, and well, again, it was pretty ugly out there today. For many reasons, but at the end of the day, it's not a surprise. Okay, I don't think any of this is really surprising. I mean, it was more surprised that we were long into most of this, which kind of sucks, but that's kind of the game, the life of a trader, and I think we got lots of troubles coming forward, and there's lots of issues out there, and I don't see anything getting too much better. Do you?
No, I think if you're surprised by what happened today, you've been in a coma for the last year.
And I mean, just in general with everything, I think there's nothing, no real changes forthcoming because of what's going on. So no worries.
No, more of the same. I mean, absolutely. And, a lot of issues facing these markets, and very few of them are good.
You can mess with me all you want. It's okay. Somebody's commenting. Look, I don't mind. I can take it. I believe in letting people speak their opinion as well. In the meantime, you've got the Federal Reserve. It's not a federal government, and it's not a reserve. It's a piece of crap. Okay. Hopefully, they're never going to end it, but it should end or at least should be audited, because what they do is so far off of their point of what they're supposed to be doing and what they're supposed to be concerned with that it's become almost laughable. All right, and this is the result you get when interest rates go from what were they low at the low 2 and something, 2 and change, 2 1/4,
2.4.
Okay, and the low in mortgages was what, about 2.5?
Yeah, my son got in at 245.
Okay, so now they're going to be 6.5, and not stopping and going higher.
And I heard, by the way, if you want to buy a new house here in Vegas, you buy one of these lots like we did, and you wait a year. You have to qualify for a 7.5% mortgage now.
Right. No, it's brutal. Okay. And again, this is the Federal Reserve is not related to the federal government. It's a private corporation, and it's run by, in my opinion, those that are not exactly straight up and more criminal element than anything else. But that's just my opinion. And of course, we've watched them destroy just about everything in their path. And this is happening again. And here we go. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, to all of our public servants, military, and all of you, we thank you for your service, because again, at the end of the day, it's what you who allow us to exist and still have a free country for now. Okay. But we do thank you. And again, it's a thankless job that people do not give you the appreciation you deserve.
We thank you. We support you. And we
100%.
We're in favor of tripling the funding on
100%.
I mean, 100%.
So to all of you, thank you. As always, we really appreciate your service. And of course, bank floats the outside chance of 100 basis point break on Wednesday. Well, again, they need to go up about 800 basis points to get to even. So
yeah, I mean, even their core, which is BS, that's 6%. I mean, anything below there is negative.
I mean, the CPI was what, 8.5 last week? Multiply that by 3.
8.6. Core 6.
That's your real inflation. Multiply it by 3. That's your real inflation number.
It's 20%.
Okay. And Janet Yellen, the quote of the century, I'm calling this, I didn't see that coming. Now, who the hell could not see what was happening happen? We talked about it here.
Bubba, by the way, Bubba, if
Yeah.
you and I see it, she has no excuse.
Right. I mean, we talked about it here for over almost a year and a half. Okay. How could you not see this coming? How dumb do we have to
You know
be?
why? Because she's too busy concentrating on diversity in the workplace, and she's too busy concentrating on climate change. And by the way, she's the Treasury Secretary. Thank you very much.
I mean, how can you not? I mean, what kind of imbecile could not see this coming? This was this is about the biggest telegraph message ever. Okay. And of course, tie that in now with revolving consumer credit jumps again. What do you think this is going to lead to? Okay. You know, that credit comes from somewhere. Okay. It comes from the banks. Okay. Which are over leveraged, in my opinion, to begin with. Okay. So how does this all end? Okay.
You know what? You want to hear something really interesting?
Yeah, go.
Over the last couple of days, Bubba, I got, I have a couple of credit cards, as we all do. And I pay them off immediately. I refuse. It's like against my religion to pay a penny in interest to a credit card.
Right.
And I've always done that. I don't think in my lifetime, in 62 years, I've ever paid a penny in interest to a credit card company. But over the past couple of days, I got like letters from each one of them bumping up my credit limits. And I'm saying in this environment, they should be cutting them.
Right. They want you to borrow. They want to get you involved because the credit card debt is not bankruptable.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, so what do you think this means? When debt is high, you keep hearing how much spending money people have and how much they've saved. Well, they didn't save enough. Okay. And once again, we're running into that debt problem that goes back to every major collapse in markets revolves around debt. Okay. And now you take the currency, which is worth a lot less. The race to the bottom, we call it. I mean, this is not an imagination. All you have to do is go anywhere in the world and see what your dollar buys today versus what it bought a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Okay. It buys nothing. And this is, again, these are problems that we continue to hide from and ignore. Why? Do you have an answer for that?
No.
I mean,
No.
this is the problem when you don't allow a free market system to operate and you don't allow certain companies to go bust. Okay. You have to let them go out of business. Okay. So that you can bring back somebody stronger. You cannot continue to bail out companies or banks, right? Because all they do is take advantage of the system. They game the system. It becomes criminal. Okay. And again, it goes back to the treason of this whole situation.
Maybe they should put a picture of Charles Ponzi on a $100 bill.
What a scheme. Well, listen, that's what the Social Security system is because they refuse to adjust it. Social Security age should be 80, not 65. Anyways, the words of wisdom from our friend Connie, who is always on top of it. Dirty water doesn't stop plants from growing, so don't let negative words stop your progress. Okay. And again, you can be negative all you want, but if you're negative, you don't have a chance to turn it around and become positive. You have to look at every situation as it stands. And Connie, you always come up with the right words at the right time. And again, I think it's important to understand that, don't surround yourself in negativity. There's enough out there that you'll be able to decipher for yourself, but you need to always look for the better ways to do things to create positivity around yourself. If you hang around with negative people, you're going to be negative all your life. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm allergic to negativity.
Okay. So, and of course, her State of the Union, this is a controlled, intentional demolition of these United States. And I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Do you?
No, it's like, that's so sad though.
I know, but it is exactly what I think is happening, that they're intentional.
I do have to give them this. I mean, in such record time.
No, it didn't take long.
I mean, what are we, 18 months into this administration? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible. And again, it's happening. And let's hopefully we can turn it around and stop it. Okay. And of course, I've been bitching for an hour, but I get one more. And it's really the double standard of Congress. And it goes into almost everything that they do. Okay. From the raise they took during COVID, but the latest is Nancy Pelosi's husband. Everybody in the world who would have got a DUI, that video would have been released all over the place. Where's Nancy Pelosi's husband's video? Okay, how come we don't get to see it? How come we don't get to see that? Okay, and I'm so tired of them doing what they want without any cause. They got different health insurance than we all have. They got better than everything that we have. So they have their own standard of life, not the same thing that we all have to be held to. Okay, and I think that's a criminal offense as well. Okay, any thought there, sir?
Yeah, it goes. I'll add one more thing to it. You know, my wife is Catholic, and she's pretty devout Catholic. And one of the bishops in California said that because of her abortion stance, she can't take communion. You know, in the Catholic Church, they won't give her communion. And I think last week the Pope appointed a progressive bishop that reversed that. So, you know, maybe she made a few phone calls.
Unbelievable. Anyways,
That's
as
interesting.
we look at
It's
market,
interesting. I mean, listen, whatever. It's just interesting.
it's very interesting what's going on here. You know, obviously I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but and the Gary needs to sit and knit some socks. Yeah. In the meantime, the Dow YM Yankee Michael, which we use for a representation of the Dow Jones, and of course new lows broke down. Okay, and this is a breakdown. Okay, this is certainly a breakdown. And you know, look, where is support? 31.2 maybe. I mean, resistance, support, there is none right now. I mean,
The Dow has been the healthiest horse in the glue factory.
Yep. The Dow and the Russell have been pretty good, but
right, the Dow was down 17.5%. What else you want to hear? If that's the healthiest horse, it's pretty ugly.
It is pretty ugly. And, you know, at the end of the day, okay, we'll see. But to me, there's no support, and this looks to be going much lower. Now there'll be a rip your face off rally somewhere in here. Okay, whether it'll be this week or not, I don't know, but there will be one coming.
You know, I'm just focused a little bit on Wednesday. I think the odds increase after that Fed statement and meeting. It's just I've seen it so many times in my career that, you know, that they come out with, you know, they'll raise interest rates and when the deed is done, and then you get the reaction the other way.
Right. No, I got you. Look, I'm not disagreeing. I'm observing, you know, as we do, and the S&P, Echo Sierra, the same thing, breakdown. Okay, we're short, and you know, to me, 3,800 is going to be resistance now. Okay, 3,800, and then 3,900 if it blows through. And again, don't be surprised if you get a huge spike rally, but that's going to be a selling opportunity. Now we are certainly broken down. So now rallies are certainly sellable, but they're not just sellable because it goes up a point. You have to find a key level. You have to define a level. To me, 3,800 would be aggressive, but certainly one that I will certainly look at. And then above that, then maybe 3,900 or somewhere in between. But 3,800 is the first key level that we're going to have to get through if we're gonna come back from it. And I don't think we're coming back. I think they'll see a rally, and I think that'll be a very sellable bounce. In the meantime, there is no support. 3,800, and who knows how low we're going to go from here. The Nasdaq. Again, same thing, but worse. The Nasdaq has been under duress the entire time. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a replay of 08, 01 in the Nasdaq. I mean, again, all these stocks got so far overvalued, okay, to what they could actually support in the marketplace, that it's not a real surprise. There's a lot of these companies that pushed it up were not real companies to begin with. This is almost an instant replay of things we've seen in history.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, Bubba. It's the most bearish thing I see is that there's no sign of capitulation. It's
right.
Very orderly, which is very bearish.
Correct. There's no panic in this market. We're short everything but the Russell right now. Okay.
It's very bearish, but it's very orderly.
Right. Exactly. And of course, speaking of anyways, I'm sorry, Connie. 11.8, 11.6, 11.8. Okay, no support. Okay, again, there'll be a big rip somewhere, but that rip will be sellable. And the Russell is on support, interestingly enough. Okay, now I'm sure, I am 100% confident this is going to change tomorrow. So I'm going to look at it from the short side, even though we're long at the moment. Okay, and I would say that 1,800 is going to be resistance, and if the support fails, which I believe it will, then we'll see. But this will become resistance if this does fail. Now we could see, again, I think the real key is going to be the opening tonight and how it trades in the morning to see where we're going to be. If we open higher, I would say there's a very high probability of failure. Okay. If we open lower, you have a chance to get that rally. Again, higher opens in this kind of market are very bearish. They're not bullish at all. They're extremely bearish because all it is people trying to chase and catch a bottom versus being panicked out and creating a bottom. Okay. And that's what I think you have to watch for. But in the meantime, we'll assume that this is going to change, and 1800 would be the resistance I'd be looking at, maybe even 1760. Okay. And support is right now for today, support is 1700. Okay. And the VIX is, again, who else? Oh, I can't. Hold on. Are you there still?
We're here.
Take over for 1 second. Wait,
yeah, no problem. The VIX, really interesting here. Bubba and I had said that we thought that the base for the VIX was between the 20 and the 25 level. We've been saying that the last couple of weeks. And over the last week, we got down, I think we got down to 23 and change, high 23s, just below 24 in the buying zone. And then bingo, we popped right out. So I think that is the VIX running away on the upside? No, 34. So we're back to where we were in early May. It reflects what's going on today. It's reflect what's going on, on Friday. But base price in the VIX, a couple of years ago, it was 10. Then it became 15. Now it's 20 to 25. And that should tell you something. Volatility is up. And but at 34, there's no capitulation. There's no panic. There's no big panic in this market. So, I am approaching it, from a trading perspective in VIX and VIX related products. I look at 2-to-1 odds. I risk one to make two, and I am on the buy side on these dips.
I'm back. Sorry, that was
but what I was saying is, Bubba, that you and I have been saying that the base price in the VIX is higher. And last week we said, hey, 20 to 25 is the buy zone. And bingo, we got down to just under 24. We went right up to 34. Right?
Well, Andy, hold on. Hold carry for one more minute for me.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So that's the VIX. Let's see what he's going to discuss next. Oh, he's going to go into Apple, which is perfect. I could talk about Apple. We actually co-authored an article that we put out on Seeking Alpha today that said that as much as we hate it, we're short Apple.
You gotta love butt dials, right? Especially when it's the only person that's allowed to call you at this time of day.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's your mother.
Yeah. Anyways.
So I told them about the VIX. I told them that 25 was below 25 was the buy zone, and bingo. Right.
We were that's what we're watching, right? And now it looks like we might be forming a new support at about 28.
Yeah. Short term, yes.
We got to see it. Obviously, the faster this flies up, and this is pretty big, it should bring back a little bit of pullback in the volatility. That doesn't mean the prices are going to come down, because the volatility index is just the number of options being bought versus being sold. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see it back to 30 tomorrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Anyways. Apple.
I did mention, I went on to Apple, and I did mention that we co-authored an article out on Seeking Alpha called "As Much as We Hate It, We're Short Apple."
Yeah, I mean, look, if you said, okay, right now for the next 20 years, what you're going to buy or sell Apple, I'm going to buy it.
Right.
For trading it, I mean, we've been short Apple for quite a while,
right?
And we're still short. And
now love the company, but you know what? The trend is your friend, and this trend is bearish.
Right. So it's breaking down, and again, there should be a bounce somewhere in here, but again, there is no support. Okay, I'd look to be a seller on any rally. Probably the first level would be about 135. Okay, now again, this is not a lifetime sale. This is a sale as a trade, looking for it to continue to go lower until it doesn't, right? Until the trend changes, but the trend is certainly lower, and there's no reason to be long it right now. So 135 would be resistance. And again, that could get there in a second, especially if we get a little bit of a short squeeze rally. Okay. So, I mean, that's what you want to, again, remember and pay attention to.
Gotta love it. And the Apple handed their baton overseas over to the Middle East to Aramco, who's now the biggest publicly traded company.
So, and of course, Alpha Golf, which we are long at the moment. Now, I don't know if we're going to still be long tomorrow, but we are long at the moment. But it's pretty much in nowhere's land. And again, I don't ever want to be short. I don't like to be short this one anyways. It is in one of my portfolios if it is short, but right now it's still long. But again, this is one that I only have and I only cover it because I want to be long. If I want to be long silver through paper, this is one of the ways I want to trade it. Okay.
And Bubba's not a big fan of shorting $8 stock.
No, I do. I never have. I
No.
don't like them. Okay. To me, you're looking at probably $7.50 to $9 in here.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, markets are all about risk reward. At an $8 stock, the reward ain't that great. Honestly.
And when it takes off, this thing could go back to 15 and no problem. But again, I'm not telling you it's going there today. It looks pretty weak at the moment. Okay, but it's really just stuck in this range, right? And
right, and the odds of 15 are a hell of a lot higher than the odds of 1.
without question.
Exactly.
So Alpha Michael Delta, look, again, it peaked. Remember, we talked about this last week. We were still short, and here it comes on its way, working its way lower. Okay. And here we are. Now we're going to come to, 84 is going to be a major level on the downside. I think you're looking at 94, 84 as levels to watch. And certainly at 94, I'd be a seller again. Again, I'm not looking to buy anything right now. Okay. Remember, you want to remember what you have as an overall trend. You want to remember what you're watching. And we don't want to get too excited. Okay. Now, again, if you're hedging, then you're fine. And you're buying this anyways on the way down because you're hedging it, right? The hedging was phenomenal the last few days. All right? So, but if you're just trading it, then there's no reason to even think about buying this unless you're going to try to catch a quick move up, a quick reverse for a dead cat bounce. But again, that's obviously like that's like trying to win a lottery. All right. You got to have a reason behind any trade you make. The volume is very light here, which is another concern that says this is not a blow off. And this goes into Andy's point that it looks like it wants to go dramatically lower. And I think it's got a good chance to cut through 84 like a hot knife through butter.
Yep.
Okay. In the meantime, 84 to 94, we're short.
And by the way, the problem with a lot of these semiconductor companies is they have nothing to sell. So it's just a question of they don't have anything on the shelf.
Right. And Amazon, which we started recovering again now, look, it's on dead on support. It looks horrible. Okay. We don't carry a position in it yet, but we'll probably add it back in. In the meantime, it's really just stuck in a sweeping range, but certainly it looks pretty ugly here. And if it goes through here, it's probably going into the 90s or lower. All right. Now, again, I'm not telling you to jump out and sell it. I would certainly look to be a seller at about 110. And now, full disclosure, I own it in my hedging account. I don't own it anywhere else, but I do own it in my hedging account. Okay. But I think that, I'd be a seller at 110. And I think that this has got a chance if it gets through, through 100, the low 90s or below it won't be a surprise. Remember, not only are your grocery stores running out of goods to sell, but so are places like Amazon. Okay. So it's going to be hard for them to make their numbers. This is the thing.
Their transportation costs are through the roof. And they have, these Amazon Prime members get free delivery, which is taking they can't even put any surcharges on this. So taking a big bite.
This is, again, here, if you just do simple economics, okay, just think about it from this standpoint, right? Walmart, Target, all the retailers that you do business with, that maybe you own their stocks. And I'm not saying you shouldn't own them, but, there's going to be hard for them to reach numbers because they don't have product to sell. Okay. And the product they do get is going to be much higher price than it was before. So either they got to eat it and take off their profit margin, or you're going to have to pay for it, which means that if you got to pay for it, you probably can't buy it. So again, the dynamics are not very solid right now in anything. Right. So in the meantime, right now, 100 to 110 in Amazon. Baba, well, finally, it got cooked. Okay. Now we're still long, Baba. We've been long for a while, but here this is pretty ugly, right? This is a pretty much of a beatdown. And it looks like we're headed back. Now, again, look at the light volume. So this is really interesting when you look at the overall picture, a very light volume sell-off. Okay. So out of China, what does it mean? I mean, for the moment, we're still long, and I don't know if we're going to change it or not overnight, but to me, I'd watch it like 96 to 108. That's the kind of the levels I'd be watching. It's hard to grasp. I mean, I can't imagine this will not reverse after this action the last couple of days, but again, right now, 96 to 108, but I'm not a happy real buyer of just about anything at the moment. I think that, one of the things you'll see is pressure begets pressure. And until they resolve out, you'll see always you'll see some stuff, even when even as the market sells off further, there'll be different stocks that'll bottom at different times. Okay, like Amazon, just to use an example, back to Amazon, in '08, Amazon bottomed in November of '08, long before the rest of the market's bottom. So in the meantime, 96 to 108 in BABA, we are still long at the moment. Bido, which we don't trade yet, and this got clocked obviously with Bitcoin. I own this now. I decided to jump in because I thought we were going to get a pop higher. Well, guess what? I was wrong. Right. So, but I own it. And again, I'm not getting out of it. And is this a blow off? It could be. Again, to me, when I see a blow off that I want to jump into, I want to see some real dramatic volume. And we haven't had tremendous volume here. Anyways, certainly I wouldn't have a problem with it, but we don't trade it yet. We have no position in it yet other than I have it long. But if I were looking to own Bitcoin and didn't want to do it through a wallet, this is the way I might play it right now. And I might even buy some more tomorrow.
It did a hell of a job. It did a pretty good job tracking Bitcoin on a percent.
Yeah, no, the real key here, Andy, is going to be the backwardation contango, which you don't have yet.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, but as a short-term trading sword,
100%.
It did a good job today.
It's spot on. Okay. Yeah. In the meantime, look, there's no support. If you want to sell this, 16 be a spot to sell, or 18. Okay. Me, I'm probably gonna look a chance to buy because I in this kind of thing, I'd rather gamble to the long side on a play like this. I'm playing something that is outside of the overall market structure. Okay. That's all. I'm looking for Bitcoin to be, make another run. And I could be wrong, but again, I'm willing to take a small position and lose if I'm wrong. And it's not exactly, there's not a lot of things to do with this. So it's either take a shot with it or trade it. And I just choose to take a shot with it. That's my opinion. Okay. The same thing applies to BitQ, Bravo, India, Tango, Quebec. I'm certainly not going to sell it at $8. Okay. Which would be resistance. Okay. That I'm not doing. Right. I mean, this would go against every fiber in my being, knowing that I'm shorting an asset at $8, that the underlying that I'm actually banking it off of could be 100,000 in a week. You know what I mean? Right?
Listen, I'm a happy buyer of this at $6.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I have
my current long position, and I will tell you, I will state here that I don't hedge it, that it's a pure gambling, and I know what I could lose. That's it. Finished.
Right. And I would buy some. I'd buy more at $6. Okay. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to sell it, but $8 is truly a resistance. Okay. Chewy, Charlie Hotel Whiskey Yankee, right, which we are still short. And again, it's really kind of risk range bound. It kind of panicked to the bottom off of earnings down at about 24. Now it's kind of stuck between 24 and 30. Again, I would have no.
What it kind of felt like with Chewy today? It kind of felt like the damage was done, and the market is focusing on other stocks to just crush.
You could be right. This could be a stock that, I'm not saying it is because we don't know, but this could be a stock that has actually potentially found its bottom already. And no, it's not going straight back up again, but it could have found a bottom because certainly if I reevaluate the way I look at this here, let's just clean this up for 1 second. Okay. If I look at this from this standpoint, I go, okay, so I've got a market that's kind of stuck like 32 to 22, right? And it's really just churning in between those ranges. Yeah. Right. So we're still short. And again, for me, I would look at 24 to 30, but if I'm looking at it from a different scope, then it'd be, just what I told you, 22 to 32. All right. Coin, look at this. Now, this has been obviously tracking Bitcoin as well, and this has gotten clobbered, right? I bought, I think I bought 188 shares today, hedged, right? This is breaking down, and we're still short this. We've been short this since 202. Okay. And again, look, there's no reason to buy it unless you want to gamble. Okay. And I own it in my hedging account. Okay. And I'm short it in the portfolio. And for me, I think that 60 is probably resistance. Okay. And there is no support. Each time it goes down, you could make a case that maybe 40 is some support, but these are all new lows. These are levels not seen before. Okay. So this has been on a straight roller coaster down, very much like with Bitcoin. Okay. For me, 40 to 60. Okay. And 1 second. All right. How do I take this up? Okay. Another dog, what we talk about, DraftKings, right? And this is, again, one of the reasons I stopped participating in this. Now we still have it in a position and we're long it at the moment. Okay. But I'm sure I guarantee that'll change tomorrow as well. But again, this has probably got to come out of the portfolios. this is not one that I want to carry at $11. I still own it personally. I still have it hedged. Okay, but I don't add to the position. But to me, $11 is like the death row. If it doesn't hold there, it's probably going below 10, and it may go the route of others. And at 13, now again, we both believe that they have to be taken over, but it doesn't appear that's happening so fast either. So they very much like the pod industry, Andy, they may be letting these guys go out of business before they do anything and just grab the scraps later.
Yep. It's ugly. Certainly ugly. I own it, but whatever it is.
Okay, so in the meantime, right from here, 11 to 13, Meta, which is Facebook, that's just out of order because that's where it was. Facebook did stop trading, I guess, and now it's goes under the symbol of Meta, and it same new name, same crap. Okay, continues to break down. Okay, and we're still short. And as I look at the picture, okay, look, I think 175 is resistance. Okay, there is no support.
The minute Zuck started this metaverse nonsense was the minute this company turned south.
Right. Well, I mean, he's a putz anyway, so
it's amazing.
Right. I mean, anyways, and so this has got 175. There's no place to buy it. I mean, again, if you're buying it for a long-term view, again, you're hedging it, that's one thing. But if you're trying to pick a bottom, it's always better to buy on the way back up than it is to buy on the way down. Okay, a lot less pressure on the individual investor. First Solar, Foxtrot, Sierra Lima, Romeo, and this got clocked again today too. Now we're still along this, but I suspect it'll be changed. A lot of them were on the verge and didn't quite trigger. Well, I think many of them will trigger today, which will be, and when you look at the overall, the lack of volume and the selling, and again, this is not healthy, right? As Andy mentioned earlier, the overwhelming sell-off into very light volume means that it's just consistent. There's not panic selling here. You haven't seen the screamers come out and puke it out yet. Okay, which means there's more room to go. And for now, 62 to 68 would be what I'm watching in First Solar. GDX, Golf Delta X-Ray, which we're still long, of course. And again, this is like 30 to 33 again. And remember, it was just at like 38. Okay, and it's 30 to 33. Okay, and we'll see what happens with this. Obviously, had a nice update Friday, and obviously gave it all back today. Goldman, Gulf Sierra, which were short. Okay, and again, this is breaking down pretty nastily. They've got they're a great company and they make money, but at the end of the day, nobody's excluded from a big sell-off. Okay, and certainly I would suspect that 290 would be a resistance level to sell. 290 to 300, and there is no support. Again, you're going to find very little spots of support in these markets until they build a new bottom, and they don't have that yet. Okay, so I'm not giving it to you because I don't want to give you. I got nowhere to give you. Okay, which is, again, they have to either find an old bottom or make a new bottom somewhere. Okay. India Whiskey Michael, which unfortunately we're still long, and of course we won't be long tomorrow. But again, these are some that were on the cusp of potentially changing. But in the meantime, 170 is going to be a key level, and 180 is going to be your sell spot, if not 175. Okay, but again, I guarantee this is going to reverse. Okay, and we'll see where it goes. But certainly, obviously, looking for a rally to sell it into. And 170 is a key to watch. If it goes through 170, God knows where it's going. And again, we're going to see some pretty ugly stuff coming up. And you've got triple witching, which is not a big deal, but it will create some more volume. So let's see where the volume guides us. Mara.
Well, these market conditions don't favor small caps.
No, not at all. Michael Alpha, Romeo Alpha, Mara, which we're still short. Now, I hate being short this, but of course we're short through options. So it's not like it's a catastrophe, but this was originally started in the stock was in the 80s. Okay. And now it's in the 6s. And of course, my key source tells me it's getting closer. Right. But right now it's still a short, and there's no support. If you buy this now, you're buying it because you think that the crypto world is going to turn around. Okay. And again, this is just continues to get ugly. And a lot of times it's better, instead of gambling on garbage, it's better just to sit back and let it trade and find it later and get it as the trend starts to change, instead of trying to find a bottom, which is, I think, what you see, some bottom picking going here at these lower prices. In the meantime, resistance is at $8. There is no support. Okay. Gap at there you go. 351 is the number. And my resident genius just told me 351. Okay. And Neo, November, India, Oscar. Okay, which we're still long. And of course, this I don't know if this is going to change or not. This got clocked today as well. But again, everything got clocked. So it's no surprise. But as I'm looking at this, I would say, 15 to 20. Okay. And certainly we'll see what it looks like. Again, it's not horrible. It doesn't look as bad as others. So we'll see how it plays out. But 15 to 20, and we are at the moment long. Nugget, November, Uniform Golf Tango. Well, this is one ugly pig. Unfortunately, at least out of the two, we're still short this one. And again, it's really, though, again, remember one thing, right? So we look at it from a longer term view, right? From 30,000 feet. But now if I say, well, hold it a second, let's look at it from here. Basically, we've been stuck between 40 and 50 for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And
1819 gold range. There it is.
Right. And so what does that tell you? It tells you that there's a much bigger move coming, and more than likely a big move in gold. The next big sweeping move should be probably higher. Doesn't mean we're not going to go lower first, but the next big trend, I think, will be higher. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but that doesn't mean we can't go to 1750.
100%
down. So, I agree with that. This thing is gold on steroids, and this thing, this thing is not only miners, which are leveraged, it's a leverage miner. So if Bubble puts up a really long-term chart, you'll see that this thing probably traded at 20,000 at some point.
I think higher, believe it or not.
It's ridiculous if you go back.
I think it's probably in the 150,000. Hold on, I gotta look just for kicks. I gotta look. Okay, where did it go?
Oh,
it's up here somewhere. I gotta look at it later. I'll look at it. Oh, that's an hour. That's why I'm on the wrong chart. It's my bad. Hold on one second. 3 months. Okay. It's so high up there. I can't even get it. I'll get it later off a different chart.
You can't even. You get a nosebleed.
It's easier for me to look at it later. Okay. I will give it to you before we leave. But in the meantime, it was in Pluto. Okay, because it's reverse split so many times. Actually, I'll do it right now. As long as I'm talking about it, I'm gonna do it right now. Where are we at here? Nugget. Okay, and hold on. But I guarantee it was 100 and some thousand would be my guess. Okay. No, I want more than that. Sorry. I want maximum quarterly. There we go. I'm sorry, 88,000. My bad.
Yeah, 88,000. I mean,
88,000.
That's called time decay.
In the meantime, NVIDIA, November, Victor, Delta, Alpha. Okay, which unfortunately we're long coming into this, but this is right on dead on support. This doesn't look at either. This is probably going to revert again. I don't know for sure, and this I don't know how close it was the other day. So in the meantime, for today. I wouldn't be jumping. Listen, I'm telling you now, I wouldn't be jumping in to buy anything right now. Okay. No matter what I thought, I wouldn't be jumping in. I'd be kind of watching this market resolve out. It is a big week and it's very thin, which means that weird things can happen. But for here, 150 to 190, 150 to 190. But certainly if it does reverse, I would certainly look at selling it at 170 and certainly at 180. Okay. Penn. Papa Echo November. Like this is for whatever reason. Now, again, I do know the reason, right? We're still short this, but the reason is that they just can't make enough money. It doesn't matter how good their gaming app is. There's only X amount of profit. So we're still short. Certainly, I think that, 32 is resistance and I'd like to sell more. And I think it goes through this 28 like a hot knife through butter. And the Qs, Quebec, which we are short. Okay. And they have totally broken down. They're not on support. They're not anywhere. They have totally broken down. Now, certainly a rally is not going to be a surprise at some point. Okay. There's going to be some sort of a rally that's going to show up. Okay. Now, where it takes us to, and to me, this is the important part that you need to understand is where are you looking to sell? You want to sell into a rally and you want to find a resistance level. So if I'm looking at this chart today, I'm not even thinking of selling until we get about a $10 rally. And I'm already short, but if I was looking to add, I'd want a $10 rally right now. Now I can narrow that down later, once I see the action of the markets, but at the close, to me, 286 is where I'd be looking to sell. Okay, which is about a $10 rally. But in the meantime, there is no support. And the first resistance is going to be about 281, 282. Okay, but that's not enough for me. If I'm going to sell it, I want to find a true resistance level, unless it establishes a new one, which it could. It certainly could make a new resistance level at 282 or 280. So we'll see. No support I gave you, and I said 286. Okay. Riot, again, very much like Mara. Where's this one going to, my dear? Okay. How low is this one going? $2? Okay. We don't carry a position on this anywhere. It's when we carried it. We watched it from $6 when we first put it in, all the way up to like 90-ish. And now it's back down to $4 again. Around tripper. Okay. Where does she say? 0. Okay. This is going to 0. According to this is my expert, who's pretty resourceful and has been dead on. Okay. For a technical term, balls dead on. In the meantime, look, if you're gambling, that's all you're doing here. There's no reason to play in this space. There's so many other ways to play it now. Okay. And again, we may take this out altogether. I have no levels here. Roku, Romeo, Oscar, Kilo uniform. We're still short. And again, what did I tell you? If it got through 100 and it made a retest of 100 and bang, down at 73. Now it's interesting. I think last week there was some interest or some play in this potential takeover, whatever it was, or maybe a deal. And some in the chat room said that's a sell. And of course, look what happened. It did collapse. It's down 30% from the deal. Look, this is going probably back into the 40s where it was when before the COVID hit.
Yeah.
Most of these truly got overvalued, right? You agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of these companies had no earnings too.
Right. I mean, the COVID stocks got bid up. Okay. In the meantime, no support, 90 resistance, maybe even 80. Okay. I'd look at 80, but again, at 80, I'd have to have more evidence. At 90, it would be almost automatic. Okay. Square Dance, another one. Look, these were all in Pluto. Now, I like Square, and I think it's a great company. However, it's going south. And we said, again, through 100, watch it go back to the 40s or 50s. And here we are. We're breaking down again. Okay. And we're still short. And to me, look, I'd love to see a rally to 70. I'd like to sell it again. I would be a seller at 70. I'd be a seller at 80. And then until this reverses trend. But this is definitely breaking down. And this is perfectly illustrated from the way the chart's set up, that the big move was coming and the trend was lower. And certainly it was to the downside.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey, turning a big fortune into a much smaller one.
Yeah, he's but again, the concept is good, and again, a lot of this is. Sorry,
he made a big bet on cryptos, and
yeah,
suffering.
Their concept is good. A lot of this is just residue selling throughout everything right now.
Yeah.
Right now, you're seeing a lot of wholesale selling. Okay, Spy, Sierra, Papa, Yankee. Okay, which unfortunately we're still on, but again, that'll change tomorrow. Unfortunately, again, this is the bad break of being on the borderline of changing and not changing. But in the meantime, here we are. So for me, again, 390, 385 is where I'm looking to sell. I'm not selling it. 380 would be the first real resistance, but I'm not necessarily jumping in. Now, the market just reopened. I'm just going to change topic for a minute. They're higher, but they're not dramatically higher. This is relatively unchanged. The futures right now, they're higher. Dow's up 50, the Nasdaq's up 50. And the S&P's up 10. That is relatively unchanged. Okay. So, but if they gap much higher, it changes my opinion to be a much more aggressive seller. So I really got to see where the action is overall. But in the meantime, here, 390 is first where I'm looking. 380 is the resistance to look at first, and there is no support. Okay. The Tango Quebec. These look like they're going to 0. Okay. And this is that leveraged ETF that we don't trade it anymore. But it does look pretty bad. And, again, there's no support. I think resistance here is probably, 28. Okay. Tesla. Phew. Okay. Now Tesla's really kind of just turning, but it is certainly in a downtrend. Okay. And I think that you're looking at probably 640 to 760. When? Wow. Something happened in China today, Andy?
No, not that I saw.
Was there any news out of China? Anybody here?
I didn't see anything on the China.
Okay. Well, it should look like the Roku should look like the Qs. They're the same index. Okay. Too many CEOs, CFOs bailing out last couple years would never roll right. Okay. I don't trade SLV, so I didn't skip it. Okay. Gold is not getting whacked. Gold is at 1816. Okay. They got whacked today, but it doesn't get whacked right now. Okay. A lot of that, what you might see down on the chart is actually higher. I'll go to it in a minute. In the meantime, there must have been something out of China because this just got after charging over 70 last week, it's getting pounded. Now it's dead on some potential support. Okay. And unfortunately, we're long this as well. Again,
COVID shutdowns again. Is
that what it is?
That's what I heard. That's what he's saying. I didn't see that.
No, COVID. Yeah, I think that's horseshit. I think that's a ploy against the United States. That's my opinion. Anyways, so in the meantime, we'll see. But right now, 60 looks like it's going to be resistance. XBI, which is just down on some support, but as we said, when it was up, it came to 100. Again, there's certain things you can watch. And now we're trending lower. We're consolidating again. It looks like we're going to make the next break to the downside. And Zoom. Now, Zoom has actually held the 100 level, and it's here. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to watch this go crumbling it down as well. Again, action was okay today. Can't knock what happened, but overall it was pretty nasty and pretty ugly, and it looks like it wants to go a lot lower. Remember, these stocks were at 500. Okay, gold. Let me just flip this gold chart up for you real quick. Hold on. Gold in the reopening. Okay, this was the final close of the day. See, it's actually higher in the overnight, even though it shows lower on your machine. It's actually higher on the night session. It's just they closed the pit at 1:30 Eastern. So anything that happens after 1:30 gets carried through to the next day. Okay. All right. XBI is I'm sorry, I did not give levels. You are correct as usual, Connie. Hold on. I just said they were ugly. XBI again, 62.50 is some support, but again, I'd more like to be a seller at 67.50. And Zoom, I think that 110 is what I'd like to be a seller at, and I guess watch 100. I mean, that's a key benchmark to watch. Okay, all leisure travel is down. Yeah, listen, everything is down. Okay, the everything is breaking down all at the same time because we kept hiding from it, and suddenly it shows up. It shows up out of nowhere, which is usually the case, and now you're starting to see some real grief come to these markets. Okay, so at the end of the day, I think that, again, just be careful. It's still kind of quiet, and the bias is certainly to the downside. Okay. If you have any quick ones you want me to look at, I'll be happy to look for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, and I want to tell everyone that
have a great Father's Day with your father and your grandchild.
Thank you, and everyone should be particularly cautious out there, and we could see some fireworks Wednesday. If the Fed, let's see if this Fed smartens up.
ZIM. Do I have any thoughts? It looks pretty ugly. Okay, that's my thought at the moment. It looked good for a while. It actually looked good until last week.
Fuel's expensive.
Yeah, these shipping are going to be a little bit problematic. Okay, all right, guys. ATVI. Isn't that Activation Blizzard? Alpha Tango Victor India. Looks pretty bad. Again, they're breaking down. These stocks got well overpriced and well overvalued. Okay, and certainly I'm not a buyer at any level unless I'm going to hedge them. Okay, I got no problem buying if I'm hedging. Okay, that I can buy anytime. All right, Redbox. Gee, I haven't looked at this one for about years. Romeo Delta Bravo X-ray. Oh, wow!
Wow, a market that's a stock.
Where they get taken over? Okay. I mean, it certainly looks pretty good. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't buy it here, but I'd certainly could buy it at 14 if I were going to trade it, 13 or 14. Okay. Thanks, Bob, on a crappy day. The Snowflake, which is a big deal. Okay, got it. Got it. Thank you, sir. All right, listen, just be careful.
I'm asking for SLV.
What's that? I didn't forget. I told him I didn't forget. I don't use SLV. It's a piece of crap.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks terrible. Well, that's all I could say.
Listen, here are a couple things before you go. Okay. Number one, you got dividend, triple witching dividend and the spiders on Friday. Okay, we'll send out an email for those who are members in hedging. Okay, but obviously, I don't think any calls are going to be in the money, but you never know. Okay, but you have a dividend and a triple witching expiration. Volume will be queered or skewed, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be more action. So don't let the end of the week volume fool you into the market. Again, follow the trends, follow levels. Andy, have a great time. Have a great Father's Day, and
See
good
you
luck
next
to
week.
your travels, and say hello to your parents.
I will. See
All
you.
right, guys, have a great week. And there is a call next week. Yeah, for Juneteenth, I'm having a call myself. I'm hosting because Andy's taking off.